I'm thinking about it right now, I'm talking about it right now, and I just get the chills. Like, I remember coming out of the locker room and running onto the field right before the game, and it was just a sea of red.
It was exhilarating. It was just the giant stadium, the packed house, the sea of red.
It was wild, and it was hot, and it was nighttime, but it felt so good, and the sweat and the smell of it, and the lawn was cut perfectly.
Camera lights flashing.
On national TV, the first ones to ever break the BCS.
It was like an explosion hit the field. I mean, it gives me goosebumps every time I think about it. Coach Meyer always had the saying, all right, so I'm gonna let the lions out of the cage. I'm gonna let the lions out of the cage.
In the evening of New Year's Day 2005, in the warmth of the Arizona desert, the University of Utah awaited the start of the Fiesta Bowl against the University of Pittsburgh, champions of the Big East Conference. The Utes eagerly waited to take the final step of an improbable journey. They had come from a remote corner of the college football landscape, a mid-major team from a small conference in the Intermountain West, playing in one of the sport's 4 premier bowl games. If playing in the Bowl Championship Series was the mountaintop of college football, there were those that would argue that a small conference team like Utah didn't deserve to be on the mountain, let alone at the top. Since the late 60s, Utah had been a football program mired in mediocrity. In the mid-90s under Coach Ron McBride, the program began to rise above its inconsistent past. With McBride at the helm, the Utes shared 2 conference championships and made 6 bowl appearances, winning 3. But after 2 consecutive mediocre seasons, athletic director Dr. Chris Hill made a change. Prompted by his wife, the young and up-and-coming coach from the Midwest boarded a plane to Salt Lake City to explore the opportunity at Utah.
We had a lot of success at Bowling Green, and I had a bunch of phone calls come my way, and I thought Utah always had very good players, and I really wasn't planning on really exploring it. She encouraged me to go take a look, and I was blown away with the facilities. The Burbage Center is the thing that sent it over the top, though. That's when I walked in the room and I said, "Can I have a minute?" And I called home and I said, "This is an incredible place."
One of the first steps of the journey to the Fiesta Bowl began with the hiring of Urban Meyer. Players and fans were hopeful that he would be able to replicate the success he had at Bowling Green.
When Urban first came in, he was kind of implemented a mantra that was, "Why not us?" And I remember sitting in the meeting room when he first got there, and he was talking about, why can't the University of Utah be number 1 in the nation? Why can't they be number 2 in the nation? And I was looking at this guy like, are you sure? Do you know where you are? We're at the University of Utah. Not that we didn't have confidence in ourselves, but it was unheard of.
The man demanded so much out of you. He made you, feel like the smallest of jobs were the biggest jobs in the entire world. And if you didn't do what you're supposed to do on that play, do it his way, then you were letting yourself down, letting your teammates down, letting your family down, letting the state of Utah down.
I think the thing that was most apparent is that he was a hyper guy. He was attention to detail and really focused. And there's this legendary story about how he put locks on all the doors in the weight room when he first arrived. Nobody was leaving.
Urban Meyer was someone that I have never been around in terms of his ability to motivate. You knew when you were in his presence that he was special.
He's set in his ways. He knows exactly what he wants. He has this thing called a plan to win. He didn't believe in luck. He believed that the ball's not going to bounce your way. You make the ball go where you want it to.
Urban Frank Meyer III grew up on the shores of Lake Erie in Ashtabula, Ohio. He was raised in a home where excellence was expected in both academics and athletics, and where quitting was never an option. A star athlete in high school, he was drafted by the Atlanta Braves and played 2 years in the minor leagues. After baseball, he enrolled at the University of Cincinnati, playing as a defensive back on the football team. After graduating with a degree in psychology, he took a position as a graduate assistant at Ohio State for 2 years, before coaching as an assistant at Illinois State, Colorado State, and Notre Dame. Along the way, he earned a reputation as a very intense, driven, and intelligent coach, with the ability to motivate players to achieve levels of success that exceeded expectations. In 2001, he was hired as the head coach at Bowling Green and orchestrated a complete turnaround of the program in 2 years, coaching the Mid-Atlantic Conference team to a top 20 ranking his second year. That impressive reversal of the Falcon program caught the attention of Utah's athletic director.
Well, Urban, I knew he could coach. His energy, his organization, his willingness to take on challenges. He just had a fire in him. He was a gunslinger. He really wanted to get it done and shoot for as high as he could shoot.
At the beginning of the 2003 season, media polls predicted Utah to finish near the bottom of the Mountain West Conference race. In his first season at Utah, Meyer and the Utes took the conference by storm, winning an outright conference title for the first time in 45 years, followed by a victory in the Liberty Bowl over Southern Mississippi. They finished the year with a 10-2 record and a national ranking of 21 in both the AP and coaches polls. Despite the impressive start, Meyer was not satisfied. He continued to shake things up, making additional changes.
We were 10-2, but that was a very, very good team. That was not a great team. We still had issues. I had some issues when we went to the bowl game. And then I brought in Gary Anderson. Had a major impact on our program, as did Chuck Heater. So I hired 2 new coaches, and our Polynesian players weren't playing to their potential. I had some issues with some guys with some discipline issues, and Gary Anderson had an incredible impact on our staff.
Gary Anderson was a product of Utah football, having played as an offensive lineman in the 80s. He had been a coach on Ron McBride's staff and head coach at Southern Utah University prior to being hired by Urban Meyer. A popular coach with players, Anderson's return to Utah was welcomed.
Again, I didn't always see eye to eye with Urban on a lot of his methods, but Gary did a good job of relaying the messages or kind of bridging the gap where we didn't see eye to eye. That's where Coach A did a good job of bringing us along. And I think Coach A is that type of guy that you just want to play hard for. Anything he asks you to do, you do it.
For Utah to receive a BCS Bowl invitation would be comparable to summiting one of the peaks of the Wasatch Mountains that overshadowed the Utah campus in the middle of winter. It would be a nearly impossible trek. With no predecessor whose path they could follow, the Utes would have to blaze their own trail. Additionally, Meyer would have to make the climb with a team that was supposedly lacking in elite talent. A large portion of the roster consisted of overlooked and undervalued players. Very few members of the Utah squad were players who had been recruited by schools from automatic qualifying BCS conferences, much less from elite national football programs. All-American Eric Weddle grew up in the heart of Pac-10 country in Southern California, yet his only scholarship offer came from Utah. All-Conference center Jesse Boone and his brother Jason came from the small town of Fillmore, Utah, population 2,200. Future NFL player John Madsen was a walk-on, having never played a down of high school football. All-American defensive back and team captain Morgan Scalley had only 2 scholarship offers for after high school, both from mid-major programs, despite being named the first Mr. Football in the state of Utah. While working as an assistant with Sonny Lubick at Colorado State, Urban Meyer saw the potential at Utah. He set out to maximize the talent of the players, but soon faced other obstacles.